Howdy guys, and welcome to the Night 37 Overnight Feed Recaps of Big Brother Season 23, and welcome to Cliff Notes from obviously outside the Big Brother house. Yeah, a little bit different background than I normally have, a little business stuff taking place, but I'm not going to miss the live feeds and covering those with you this morning. So let's get right into it. First of all, as a bit of a refresher, last night, no big surprise, Christian ends up getting evicted, goes home on a 7-2 vote. Alyssa and Xavier voted to save him. Everyone else voted Christian out the door, and we now learn what we kind of expected. All right, we are now to the jury phase, which means that you better be decent with anyone that you boot on out of the house, because they're going to potentially be voting for you at the end of this thing to win $750,000. So a little bit different gameplay as a result of that in terms of goodbye messages and things like that. Now, we also now have a new twist that we found out about. High roller games for the next 3 weeks. Apparently, they're casino games that you can play to win powers. We don't know if they're real casino games, blackjack, roulette, whatever, or it's some kind of Big Brother version, but you play these games to win powers, an extra veto, or taking someone off the block. That is yet to be determined. But the big twist is that in order to play these games, you have to have money to pay the cost of admission. How do you get the money? America's voting for it. America's going to vote every week. The top 3 people, I think they said, get $100. Next 3 get $75. Everyone else gets $50. So the more America likes you, the more chances you get to play, the more opportunities you have to potentially win some kind of power, which could change the whole rest of the game. It's going to be exciting. I got my personal favorites of who I'm casting my vote for, which I'm going to keep private. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an interesting twist. And with that, let's go on to a full night of feeds. As is often the case now that we've got an HOH, we got a lot of conversations going on. Now, we didn't see the HOH competition. Normally, you at least see part of it during the live episode. Not last night. No. We got to hear about the twist and everything. But as soon as the feeds came back on, we do learn that there is now an HOH winner. Apparently, it was a question elimination type competition where the winner of a round then picks the next 2 people to go up against each other. They answer question, the loser's eliminated, the winner probably picks the next 2, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen it before. But the big news, the winner of this event, the new HOH, is Kyland. Yeah, Kyland, the first 2-time HOH winner of Big Brother Season 23. He's won HOH again, and some people are excited. Some people a little bit perturbed that he won it. Apparently, the final 2 came down to Kyland versus Tiffany, and he was supposedly going to throw it to Tiffany, but somehow that didn't happen. What I've heard is that perhaps he chose not to answer the question. Tiffany answered it, but she answered it wrong, so she eliminated herself versus Kyland actually doing it for her. Doesn't matter. The end result is that Kyland is the new HOH. Now, one thing that was mentioned by Kyland is that the noms, we don't have wildcard competitions going on this week. The nominations are going to be at 10:30 in the morning. That's tough. During my season, my HOH, people were in my room till 5 o'clock in the morning. We had noms at 10:30 the next morning. That's tough. It's a tough schedule to do. But anyway, noms are going to take place at 10:30, so Kyland's got a full night of begging and pleading and campaigning to look forward to. Now, Kyland at one point is in the HOH or in the have-not room before they actually start the campaigning and such. He's talking to himself or talking to the cameras. He's saying, look, the Cookout Alliance is safe, as well as Derek X. I'm not putting Derek X up either. That means who's left? Once you take out the Cookout, once you take out Derek X, you've got Alyssa, you've got Claire, you've got Brittany. He's not picking Sarah Beth, right? I don't think so. So you basically have those 3 people, Alyssa, Claire, and Brittany, as potential targets, as potential pawns to get put up on the block this week. Now, he does seem to be leaning against putting Brittany up. He mentions that, I really don't want to put Brittany up if I can avoid it. For now, that may change. But with 3 choices, it likely is going to come down to the veto competition and this high roller competition. Those 3 women really need to win one or the other, or their game could certainly be in jeopardy. There's a good chance they could at least find themselves on the block. I don't know. Could we handle another Brittany week on the block? That'd be a little tough to see. We will find out. But again, there's 2 different competitions that may save one or more of the ladies. We've got some conversations going on. Tiffany is complaining to Derek X and Hannah about Kyland winning the competition, about winning the HOH. She seems to feel that Kyland didn't let her win, but we've been hearing that maybe it's just that she answered the question incorrectly and it wasn't really his fault as much as hers. And she's saying the last person that she wanted to win HOH this week was Kyland. And I'm sure that's because she knows that he'll protect Sarah Beth, and Sarah Beth really was her target. Sounds like Sarah Beth was the target for the entire Cookout Alliance. We're going to talk about that. Xavier is also blaming Kyland for winning the HOH, and Azah is talking to him, and she's agreeing and saying that apparently both of them thought the plan was to go ahead and throw the HOH to Tiffany, let Tiffany put up Kyland as a pawn and Sarah Beth as a target, and everyone has agreed to that. So Xavier's upset as well, but we do see a conversation a little bit later where Kyland's actually talking to Xavier and saying, look, I didn't answer the question correctly. I didn't answer at all. I thought Tiffany knew the answer. I was going to let her win it, and it wouldn't be so obvious, and she'd win. But then she got it wrong. I mean, what am I supposed to do? So I think Xavier at least understands that maybe Kyland wasn't pushing that hard, but there's other people that still aren't convinced that there weren't some ulterior motives to Kyland's win tonight. We've got Tiffany talking to the cameras, saying that she thinks that this week, based on Kyland winning, she thinks it's likely for Claire to go home this week. And I'm curious how upset or not Tiffany may be about that. Tiffany and Claire have been tight. We saw it again this week. But Tiffany has also said that she realizes that Claire needs to go home before too long because Claire knows too much about Tiffany's game. So I don't know. I don't know how on board Tiffany may or may not be if Claire's a target. She'll probably, after last week, pushing a little too hard. I have a feeling this week Tiffany may just step back and whatever happens, happens, and she's going to try not to be quite as involved. We'll find out if that's the case. Excuse me. We've got some other conversations. Kyland is talking to Brittany. He's saying, look, Brittany, I don't want any of the jokers to go up this week. More evidence that Claire or maybe Alyssa is a target for the week. He said, I don't want y'all up there. Kyland's trying to do what he can to bring in the jokers and not have them view him as a target. So he's saying, I don't want to put any of y'all up. But he's also saying, I can't make promises just yet. I mean, I don't want to put y'all up, but you know how it goes, Brittany. That's smart, considering that we haven't had the veto competition. Well, you make nominations before the veto, but we also haven't had the high roller competition yet. And so he's saying, I just can't make promises until I know a little bit more maybe about everything that goes on. Brittany is responding, saying, look, you've been up front with me. I get it, Kyland. I got nothing but respect for you. But she also makes a mention. I thought this was interesting. Brittany seems to think that there's some sort of an alliance. They don't call it that, but an agreement or a working relationship between the remaining queens, which is what? Claire, Tiffany, and Kyland, Sarah Beth, and Brittany. So those five, she's viewing as a relationship that they're working together. Not really so much. I don't see that happening, but Brittany's under that impression. Now, Brittany she's a little bit worried. She knows that she could end up on the block this week if she's not careful. She's offering to Kyland saying, look, I'll give you 3 weeks of safety. This week, obviously you're safe, but I'll give you 2 weeks of safety beyond that if you'll keep me safe. I'm willing to make some deals with you. And Kyland doesn't really accept it. He said, deals are weird. I'm not really into that right now. He doesn't say no. He just doesn't say yes. So Brittany doesn't get the assurances that she had hoped to have, but at least they had a conversation with each other. Throughout the evening, there's a lot of conversation amongst the house guests as to who they think will get the most money from America's voting. Who does America like? Who does America not like? Most of them are saying, America's not going to like me. They're going to, and they throw out some other people, trying to keep the target off of them as much as they can. We'll see. I'm a little curious to see who America likes as well. I think there's a lot of house guests that have a whole lot of love, and maybe a whole lot of hate as well. So I don't want anyone to hate any of those house guests in there, but I will be curious to see the results. We've got Azah and Hannah talking. They're saying, I think it's actually Azah that's making the conversation at this point, saying, look, it's only week 5. The cookout is already having issues, and we were fighting over Christian, who's not even a member of the cookout. What's going to happen when we get the first cookout member up on that block as either a pawn or potentially a target? Well, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be horrible. And Hannah is saying, look, I didn't give up my individual game for the cookout just so it could be falling apart so quick. I thought this thing was going to be solid to the final 6, and we battled it out. I would have made decisions a little differently if it wasn't for the cookout. This is crazy. This is not what we expected. Now, Azah again is mentioning to Hannah, and I think getting agreement from her, that the plan actually was for Sarah Beth to go home this week. So from Sarah Beth's standpoint, obviously, if she'd won the HOH, that'd be great, but it's almost even better that Kyland won the HOH. Sarah Beth's protected. She doesn't get any blood on her hands. She can still compete for HOH the following week. So kind of a very good result for Sarah Beth last night. Hannah is talking about who she'd like to see in terms of boot orders through the jury phase. She says the first four jurors in here, her opinion, should be Claire, Alyssa, Derek X, and Sarah Beth. Hannah's got some things to say about Derek X. She's saying that she thinks, and we'll talk about that. Hannah's thinking that Kyland's likely going to target Brittany this week just because she knows that Sarah Beth wants Brittany gone because Brittany was targeting Sarah Beth. We'll see. Kyland's already said he may not really want Brittany to be on the block this week, so they may have some disagreements in terms of targets. Hannah is saying that, look, Kyland can say whatever he wants about that he didn't really try to win the HOH and he was going to throw it, but whatever, he won the HOH, and Hannah thinks that he's playing a very personal game, that he's doing it trying to protect Sarah Beth rather than doing what's best for the cookout. So again, some people aren't as convinced as others about Kyland's ulterior motives for why he actually won the HOH and how it came about. Kyland does get a letter from, gets his HOH room, gets a letter from a friend of his, a girl who he's denying he's had a dating relationship. Some people are saying, yeah, maybe not. Some people didn't seem so confident that he's telling the truth about the relationship between him and this girl. But he got a letter from her. He got pictures from her, I think, from her as well. So he gets his HOH room. Kyland also, I mentioned nominations at 10:30 in the morning. So with that in mind, Kyland's saying, look, in order for me to be able to talk to everyone, to get everyone's input before I make these nominations, I really want to get everyone up at 8 o'clock in the morning just so we can have plenty of conversations. We'll see. I guess when I did mine, we just stayed up all night long, and by the next morning, decisions had to be made. Now, normally, he's wanting everyone up at 8, just as a little FYI inside scoop. Normally on nomination day, Big Brother wakes us house guest up at about 9 o'clock in the morning. So he's there asking everyone maybe get up an hour early just so I can have last minute conversations. Azah eventually gets up to talk to Kyland. She's upset that he seemed to be targeting her during the HOH comp. Remember, when you win, then you pick 2 new people to go up. She's upset that he seemed to be targeting her. He's saying, look, it's because Brittany was targeting me first, and you're kind of Brittany's biggest ally. So it's not so much you, Azah, it's just who you were working with that I need to get you out as a way to also get out Brittany and such. And so Brittany didn't have the power. So he's trying to explain it away. But Azah is also upset. She's saying, look, the Alliance had already decided that Sarah Beth was a target. And, we don't really expect you to put up Sarah Beth during your HOH. So you kind of screwed the whole Alliance up by winning this HOH. And she says, Kyland, I asked you to throw the HOH to me, and you didn't do it. Well, why is any person ever obligated or required or even expected to throw an HOH to someone else just because you want them to? You need more than that. But Azah's not happy at all with Kyland. She's, I gotta say, it was a very awkward conversation. It was a very long conversation. It was very awkward. They almost spent more time talking about how they communicate and their communication patterns and I hear you, I accept you and all that, without actually having a whole lot of conversation. It was weird. Not my favorite conversation to listen to. All right, we've got Kyland and Hannah talking, and Kyland is suggesting that he would send Sarah Beth home over Derek X if it came down to it. Would he? I'm still not convinced just where Kyland's true loyalties lie with regards to Sarah Beth versus Derek X. He has said some things here in the last few days, really almost throwing Sarah Beth under the bus and saying, I'm happy to get rid of her if you want to do it, whatever. I don't know if he truly feels that way or it's just him trying to do everything he can to distance himself from any perceptions that he and Sarah Beth are too tight. I just don't know yet, but he's saying again, hey, Derek X before Sarah Beth when it comes right down to it. Hannah is also telling Kyland, saying, look, again, we don't expect you to nominate Sarah Beth during your HOH. If you do that, you'd never get her jury vote. We know that you'd never get her jury vote, so why would you do that? It is what it is at this point in time. But she's also saying, but I understand, I agree, and we've all agreed that everyone has our pawns, our side pieces, and all of them are going to have to go home at some point in time, right, Kyland? And she's saying, I know my guy, my pawn, my side guy is Derek X, and I know he's going to have to go home sooner than a lot of the others because he's so good at competitions, and I accept that, Kyland. You need to accept that Sarah Beth is going to have to go home at some point as well. So she's saying her guy, Derek X, probably sooner rather than later. But she's also saying, and I really think Brittany may be the one that needs to go home last. I don't know if that's based on them feeling that Brittany is the least strategic player of everyone in the house, or from a competition standpoint. She won the veto. But I still think they don't give Brittany a lot of credit from a strategy standpoint. And so maybe that's why Hannah is suggesting that Brittany should be the last non-cookout member to head out the door. And finally, Kyland has come up with an idea of asking every person to vote for who they want to be as a target this week using M&Ms. Put an M&M next to the memory wall picture of who you want to go home. Well, Kyland's asking everyone to do that, but he's also saying, look, if I don't like the results, I'm changing it. I'm not keeping the way just because I said that. I'm going to change it to whoever I want to put up, but I'm going to blame it on the house. Whoever I put up, I'm going to say, well, that's the way the house voted. I'm just going with the house. So Kyland's doing what he can to keep the blood off of his hands. We saw him in Have Not Room right after the competition, and he was, especially after some conversations with Tiffany and a few others, he was not happy. He understands that he's in a little bit of a tough position. Again, he's only got 3 targets to nominate, to renominate, depending on what happens with the veto, depending on what happens to these high roller games. He could run out of targets this week and have to put up someone, either Derek X or someone from the Cookout Alliance, put one of them up as a pawn, if nothing else. And yeah, you say it's just a pawn, and it probably would be the case, but that forces you to reveal some allegiances, some loyalties. If he's forced to put up one of the other Cookout members as a pawn, who does he pick? And who gets upset when he does that? And maybe he puts up Derek X, but then he's got to explain to Derek X why he's putting up someone that he feels like he's tightest with as a pawn, as opposed to someone else in the Cookout Alliance. Derek X is smart. Derek X is going to start figuring this stuff out if something like that happens. So, again, Kyland's getting to the point of the game where you don't have as many targets as you used to have. You don't have the easy targets. He may find himself in a bind. He better hope that the right people win vetoes and such, or else it may be a tough week for him, even as HOH. So there you have it, guys. Fun night. Kyland winning HOH. I'm curious to see how the thing goes. I'm curious to see who he nominates and how veto competitions go tomorrow. And I don't even know when the high roller competitions will take place, or when they'll start taking place. But it certainly adds an extra wrinkle to it. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Friday. Getting ready for the weekend. I know I am. I will be back tomorrow. I'll give you some updates, what happened on the nomination ceremony, and any information we may or may not have on the high roller situation as well. Have a great one, guys. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143.